The morning sky over New Washington was clear, the protective dome's energy field giving it a slight iridescent shimmer that most residents had long since stopped noticing. Captain Maya Rodriguez paused her morning jog to look up, watching as the automated defense drones performed their scheduled patrol pattern. 10 years had passed since the words, "attack again" and "face total annihilation" had blazed across every communication device on Earth, marking the end of the first invasion and the beginning of humanity's vigilant new era. She checked her wristcom, still 30 minutes before her shift at Earth Defense Force headquarters. Enough time to stop by the Memorial Plaza, something she did almost religiously each week. The plaza stood at the center of New Washington, built atop the ruins of the old city. At its heart, a holographic display continuously cycled through the names of the 3 billion lives lost during the 27 days of the first invasion. Surrounding it were statues of the heroes who had turned the tide, scientists, soldiers, and civilians who had sacrificed everything. The largest statue depicted Marcus Lane, the brilliant physicist whose breakthrough weapons technology had finally repelled the invaders, forcing their retreat and eliciting that final, ominous warning. Maya stood before Lane's statue, her eyes tracing the inscription. When faced with extinction, humanity found its salvation in unity. Quite the legacy to live up to, isn't it? A voice said behind her. Maya turned to see Dr. Eliza Way, chief scientist of Project Legacy, the initiative tasked with continuing Lane's work. 10 years after his death during the final counterattack, Lane's innovations still formed the backbone of Earth's defense systems. Dr. Way, Maya nodded respectfully. Didn't expect to see you here this early. Anniversary's coming up, Way replied, her eyes fixed on the statue. 10 years since the warning. The Defense Council is getting nervous, wants updates on progress. Any actual progress to report? Maya asked. Way sighed. That's the problem. Lane's technology was revolutionary, but we've hit a plateau. We can maintain and slightly improve what we have, but the kind of quantum leap he made, that was special. A notification chimed on Maya's wristcom. Duty calls, she said, turning away from the memorial. See you at the briefing later? Way nodded absently, still staring at Lane's statue, lost in thought. At EDF headquarters, Maya found the usual organized chaos. Since the invasion, the EDF had evolved from a hastily assembled resistance force into humanity's shield, a global military organization with bases on every continent, orbital stations, and outposts as far as Mars and the asteroid belt. Captain Rodriguez, Lieutenant Patel jogged to catch up with her. Command wants you in the Situation Room. Something about Mars Outpost Theta. Maya frowned. Theta? That's one of our deep scanning stations, right? Yes, ma'am. Lost contact 8 hours ago. Could be nothing, dust storm, equipment failure. But we don't take chances anymore, Maya finished. They never did, not after 3 billion dead. The Situation Room was already crowded when Maya arrived. General Okeke, head of the EDF, stood at the center, his face grim as he surveyed the officers and scientists gathered around the holographic display table. Captain Rodriguez, good. We're all here now, Okeke said, his deep voice commanding immediate attention. 22 hours ago, Mars Outpost Theta detected an anomaly in deep space, just beyond the heliosphere. 17 hours ago, they sent this final transmission before going silent. The display flickered, showing a grainy video. A panicked young officer appeared, dust and static obscuring much of the image. Detecting multiple objects approaching at. Never seen signatures like, oh God, they don't match the first invasion profiles, but there's something familiar about the energy patterns. Request immediate. The transmission dissolved into static, then darkness. Silence fell over the room. Maya studied the troubled faces around her. 10 years of peace had allowed some complacency to creep in, despite their vigilance. We've dispatched a rescue and investigation team, Okeke continued, but it will take 3 days to reach Theta. In the meantime, I've ordered all outposts to heightened alert and increase patrols throughout the system. General, a voice spoke up, Senator Alexander Clark, head of the Defense Oversight Committee and a frequent critic of the EDF's budget. Before we start pressing panic buttons, let's remember that Mars sandstorms knock out communications regularly, and these anomalies could easily be asteroid fragments or radiation bursts. With all due respect, Senator Maya interjected, the pattern of communication loss matched exactly what we saw during the early stages of the first invasion. Clark's expression hardened. Captain, I understand your dedication, but the public is tired of living in fear. The reduction initiative is gaining support precisely because people want to move past this constant state of emergency. Resources are being diverted from rebuilding to maintain defense systems that might never be needed again. And if they are needed, Dr. Wei asked quietly. All eyes turned to her. The warning was explicit. Attack again and face total annihilation. They weren't bluffing the first time. General Okeke raised a hand to quell the rising tension. We'll increase surveillance discreetly. Captain Rodriguez, I want you to coordinate with the outer system outposts. Dr. Wei, review the sensor data from Theta. Let's neither panic nor dismiss this prematurely. As the meeting dispersed, Maya found herself walking alongside Wei toward the research wing. The reduction initiative, Maya said bitterly, as if we can afford to scale back. Fear fades, Wei replied. Memories of pain dull. It's human nature. Not all of us forget, Maya said, her hand unconsciously moving to the scar that ran from her neck down beneath her uniform. A permanent reminder of the day she'd lost her family in the San Francisco attack. No, Wei agreed softly. But enough do. And Clark's right about one thing. Resources are stretched thin. The global economy never fully recovered. Better poor than extinct, Maya muttered. Wei stopped walking, turning to face Maya directly. There's something I've been meaning to tell you. Something about Project Legacy that isn't in the official reports. Maya raised an eyebrow. Classified. Beyond classified. Wei glanced around, then lowered her voice. We've been detecting unusual energy fluctuations in Lane's primary defense grid for months. Micro fluctuations that shouldn't be possible given the system architecture. System degradation? That was our first thought, but it's too pattern-specific. Almost like what? Wei hesitated, like it's responding to something. And here's where it gets stranger. The fluctuations increase whenever we detect those deep space anomalies that have been dismissed as background noise. Maya felt a chill run down her spine. You think Lane built something into the system we don't know about? Some kind of early warning? Or the system is reacting to something it recognizes? Wei replied. Either way, I don't think what happened at Theta is an isolated incident. Before Maya could respond, alarms blared throughout the facility. Red emergency lights began flashing in the corridors. Attention all personnel, the automated system announced. Orbital Defense Platform Gamma has detected multiple unidentified objects entering the solar system. This is not a drill. All staff to emergency stations. Maya and Wei exchanged a look of grim understanding. 10 years of waiting had just ended. Over the next 72 hours, the situation deteriorated rapidly. For more outposts went dark. Probes sent to investigate disappeared without transmission. The objects, now confirmed to be vessels of some kind, continued their approach, but with an unsettling difference from the first invasion. They're not coming straight at us, Maya observed in the Strategic Command Center, where she hadn't left for 3 days straight. Their approach is scattered, indirect. General Okeke nodded. They learned from last time. No single front for us to focus our defenses on. The holographic display showed dozens of red markers, each representing an alien vessel, spreading throughout the outer solar system in a complex pattern. And they're smaller, Wei added, studying the data. The first invasion used massive motherships. These are distributed, harder to target. Senator Clark, who had reluctantly authorized the activation of the full defense grid, looked ashen. What are they waiting for? Why not attack immediately? Because this isn't like last time, Maya said slowly, a realization dawning. They're not here for a frontal assault. They're infiltrating. As if to confirm her theory, reports began flooding in from colonies on Europa and Titan, Unusual equipment failures, unexplained power outages, communication systems transmitting garbled messages. Then came the first disturbing videos. Colonists acting erratically, speaking in monotone voices, their movements jerky and unnatural. Some kind of mind control technology, Dr. Wei hypothesized after analyzing the footage. Or neural parasites. Either way, they're taking control of our people before launching a physical attack. General Okeke made the difficult decision to quarantine all outer system colonies and stations. No ships in or out until we understand what we're dealing with. You're condemning those people to death. Senator Clark protested. I'm preventing whatever this is from reaching Earth. Okeke responded grimly. We now have clear evidence of hostile intent. The defense protocols are explicit in this scenario. The quarantine held for exactly 9 days before the first breach. A supply ship from Europa managed to override the automated defense systems and crash land in the Australian outback. By the time EDF forces reached it, the crew had disappeared, leaving behind only their shredded containment suits and a fine, glittering dust that seemed to move with purpose when disturbed. Within 48 hours, reports of strange behavior emerged from communities near the crash site. Within 72 hours, an entire town went silent. Maya found herself deployed to the Australian containment zone, commanding a squad equipped with the most advanced defense technology available. Personal shields based on Lane's designs, weapons calibrated to target the specific energy signatures of the first invasion forces. Stay alert, she warned her team as they approached the eerily quiet town of Brighton Springs. We don't know exactly what we're dealing with. The streets were empty, buildings intact, but abandoned. No signs of struggle, no bodies, just silence. Life signs? Maya asked. Lieutenant Patel checked his scanner. Scattered readings, but they're wrong somehow, fluctuating in impossible patterns. A crackle came over the team's comm system. Then a voice, multiple voices speaking in perfect unison. We remember you. Maya signaled the team to defensive positions. Identify yourself. We are what remains. We are what evolves. We are what returns despite your warning. The air around them began to shimmer, and Maya felt a familiar dread. The same sensation she'd experienced during the first invasion, a psychic pressure that preceded attack. Shields up, she shouted, just as the air seemed to solidify into thousands of crystalline shards that hurled themselves at the team. Their shields held, barely, the energy barriers sputtering under the assault. Maya fired her weapon at the largest concentration of shards, which shattered but then reformed, taking on a vaguely humanoid shape. Lane's weapon, the unified voice said, effective against our bodies, not against our new form. The crystalline figure gestured, and Maya felt her shield generator grow hot against her skin, then fail completely. Around her, her team's shields also collapsed. Fall back, she ordered, firing continuously as they retreated. Two of her team weren't fast enough. The crystalline matter engulfed them, their screams abruptly silenced as their bodies seemed to dissolve from within, leaving their equipment and uniforms to fall empty to the ground. Back at the containment perimeter, Maya delivered her grim report to EDF Command. Our weapons are minimally effective. The shields fail after sustained exposure. And whatever this is, it consumes its victims, absorbing them somehow. The global situation was deteriorating just as rapidly. Similar incidents were reported across 6 continents. The infiltration had happened right under their noses, more widespread than anyone had realized. Lane's defense grid, designed to repel external threats, proved ineffective against this insidious form of attack. In New Washington, the Emergency Defense Council convened. Maya, recalled from Australia, joined Dr. Wei, General Okeke, and even Senator Clark, now a fervent supporter of any action necessary for survival. It's not just mind control, Wei explained, displaying microscopic images on the central screen. These crystalline structures rewrite biology at the cellular level, converting organic matter into more of themselves while preserving the host's consciousness and knowledge. So the people aren't dead? Clark asked. Worse than dead, Wei replied grimly. They're fuel and processing power for the invaders. And each conversion makes them stronger, giving them access to everything the victim knew. How do we fight this? General Okeke demanded. Lane's technology isn't working. Wei hesitated. There's something about Lane's work I haven't shared fully. Something he was working on before he died. Something he feared might be needed someday. She activated a secure terminal, inputting a complex series of commands. A holographic projection appeared, schematics for a device unlike anything Maya had seen before. He called it the resonance key. Wei explained. It's based on the same principles as his defense technology, but designed to target the quantum entanglement patterns he discovered in the aliens' biology. Lane theorized that all of them, regardless of form, share a fundamental quantum signature, like a species fingerprint. And this device can what? Kill them? Maya asked. No, Wei said. It can separate them, break the network that allows them to function as a unified consciousness. Lane believed their true strength wasn't their technology or even their biology, but their perfect psychic unity. Break that, and they become vulnerable. Why wasn't this deployed during the first invasion? General Okeke asked. Because it wasn't ready, Wei answered, and because Lane feared the consequences. The energy required is enormous, and the effect could have unintended consequences for all quantum systems, including many of our own technologies and possibly even organic neural networks. Human minds. A heavy silence fell over the room. Do we have a choice? Senator Clark finally asked. We need to build it first, Wei said. I have the designs, but many of the components don't exist yet. And we need to position resonance amplifiers globally to extend the effect. How long? Okeke demanded. With all available resources? 2 weeks minimum. Maya checked the latest containment reports on her tablet. We don't have 2 weeks. At the current rate of spread, major population centers will be compromised within days. Then we buy time, General Okeke decided. Full military mobilization. We establish safe zones, evacuate who we can, and hold the line with conventional forces while Dr. Wei builds this resonance key. What followed was the most desperate week in human history since the first invasion. The EDF deployed globally, establishing fortified safe zones around major research facilities and government centers. Civilian militias formed in areas beyond EDF protection, using whatever weapons they could improvise. Maya found herself commanding the defense of the primary research facility in North America, where Dr. Wei led a team working around the clock to construct the main resonance device. The perimeter was under constant assault, not from conventional forces, but from swarms of converted humans who moved with unnatural coordination, probing for weaknesses. They're testing us, Maya observed from the command center, watching the attack patterns. Learning our responses, adapting. They're accessing the military knowledge of everyone they convert, Lieutenant Patel replied, including EDF officers who know our protocols. The defenders had discovered some effective stopgap measures. Extreme cold slowed the crystalline conversion process. Certain frequencies of electromagnetic pulse could temporarily disrupt the invaders' coordination. But these were delaying tactics at best, and the defenders were being worn down through attrition. On the 7th day of the siege, Maya visited the research lab where Wei worked feverishly on the resonance key, a device that now dominated the center of the reinforced chamber, a complex arrangement of crystalline structures not unlike the enemy they fought, surrounded by pulsing energy fields. How close? Maya asked, watching Wei's team make adjustments to the apparatus. Wei looked up, her face haggard from lack of sleep. 80% complete. But Maya, there's something you should know. She led Maya to a private corner of the lab. The resonance key requires an initiator, someone connected to the device who serves as the quantum focal point. Lane designed it that way intentionally to ensure human control over the process. Okay, so someone pushes the button, Maya said. What's the problem? Wei's expression was grim. The initiator's consciousness becomes part of the resonance cascade. Their mind is essentially dispersed through the network as it forms. They direct it, focus it. The implication sank in. It's a suicide mission. Yes, Wei confirmed. And not just death. Something different. The consciousness theoretically continues to exist, spread across the quantum field the device generates. You're telling me someone has to sacrifice not just their life, but their soul? Maya asked incredulously. I'm telling you someone becomes the weapon, Wei corrected. Lane believed it required human intuition and will to properly target the resonance effect, to distinguish friend from foe at the quantum level. Maya stared at the device, its crystalline components pulsing with energy. Does Okeke know? Yes. He's prepared to do it himself, if necessary. That's not an option, Maya said immediately. He's too valuable as a military leader if this fails. Wei didn't respond, but her eyes said everything. They were running out of options and time. On the 10th day, the outer perimeter was breached. The converted humans, now numbering in the thousands, had begun working in perfect coordination, sacrificing themselves in waves to drain the defenders' ammunition and energy reserves. They were learning, adapting with each assault. Maya coordinated the fallback to the secondary perimeter, watching as sections of the compound were overrun. At the current rate, they had perhaps 48 hours before the research facility itself was compromised. Dr. Wei, she called over the secure channel. Status update. We're at 95%. Wei's voice came back, strained but determined. The global resonance network is online. We just need to calibrate the quantum field harmonics and... Maya, we're detecting a change in the attack pattern. Maya switched her tactical display and saw it immediately. The converted forces were no longer pressing from all sides. They were concentrating on a single section of the perimeter, the one nearest to the power generation facility. They know, Maya realized aloud. Somehow they figured out what we're building. She ordered all available forces to reinforce the threatened section, but it was too late. A massive surge of the crystalline entities overwhelmed the defenders, pushing through to the power plant. Moments later, the facility's lights flickered as the main power grid went offline. Backup generators engaged, announced the automated system, but Maya knew those wouldn't provide nearly enough power for the resonance key. She sprinted to the research lab, finding Wei and her team working frantically. We need more power, Wei said without preamble. The backups give us enough to finish assembly, but not to activate. What are our options? Maya demanded. Wei pointed to a schematic. There's a secondary power facility 20 kilometers north. If we can get there, establish a connection. An explosion rocked the building. The security monitors showed the inner perimeter had been breached. They had minutes, not hours. Evacuate all non-essential personnel, Maya ordered. Lieutenant Patel, gather your best squad. We're escorting Dr. Wei to the northern facility. What followed was a desperate race through increasingly hostile territory. Maya's squad fought through multiple ambushes, losing 2 soldiers before they reached the halfway point. The converted humans were everywhere, moving with unnerving coordination, always seeming to anticipate their route. They're in the defense network now, Patel realized as they took momentary shelter in an abandoned building. They're tracking us through our own systems. Maya made a difficult decision. Dump all connected tech. Risk comms, tactical displays, everything. We'll be going in blind, Patel protested. Better blind than led into a trap, Maya countered, removing her own equipment. Dr. Wei, who had been silent during much of the journey, spoke up. I've been thinking about their adaptation rate. It's accelerating beyond what should be possible, even with the knowledge they're absorbing. What are you suggesting? Maya asked. I think they're receiving direction, centralized intelligence guiding the collective. Wei's eyes were intense. During the first invasion, we never identified a command structure. What if it exists but remained hidden? What if it's here now? The thought was chilling. If Wei was right, they weren't just fighting converted humans, but a coordinated force with strategic intelligence. They reached the northern power facility to find it miraculously intact but abandoned. As Wei worked to establish a connection to the distant research lab, Maya and the remaining squad members established a defensive perimeter. Dr. Wei, Maya said, watching the scientist work. The initiator for the resonance key. It has to be me. Wei looked up sharply. Maya, no. It makes tactical sense, Maya continued steadily. I have combat experience, I understand their patterns, and I've seen them up close. If someone has to guide this weapon, direct its focus, it should be someone who knows the enemy. Before Wei could argue further, Patel called out from his position by the window. Movement outside. Lots of it. Maya joined him, her heart sinking at the sight. Hundreds of converted humans approached from all directions, moving with that distinctive unified purpose. Among them, she spotted familiar faces, EDF soldiers who had fallen during earlier encounters. We can't hold them off, Patel said quietly. Not this many. We don't need to hold them all off, Maya replied. We just need to buy enough time for Dr. Wei to establish the power connection. She turned away. How long? 10 minutes to establish the connection. Another 5 for the key to power up at the lab. 15 minutes, Maya nodded. We can do that. She gathered the squad, outlining a plan that would funnel the attackers through choke points, maximizing the effect of their limited ammunition and resources. They all understood it was likely a one-way mission. As the first wave of converted humans reached the facility perimeter, Maya gave the order to engage. The battle was chaotic, desperate, the defenders using every trick and tactic they'd learned over the past weeks. Cold-generating grenades to slow the crystalline entities. Electromagnetic pulses to disrupt their coordination. Targeted fire at what they'd identified as critical junction points in the converted bodies. For 12 minutes, they held, gradually falling back toward the central chamber where Wei worked. Then Lieutenant Patel fell, the crystalline structure engulfing him before Maya could intervene. Their perimeter collapsed, and the converted forces pushed forward on all sides. Dr. Wei, Maya shouted over the gunfire. Status. Connection established. Wei called back. Initiating power transfer now. Maya made her final decision. Get to the emergency exit. Take the remaining team. I'll hold them here. Maya, that's an order, Doctor. If the resonance key is our only chance, someone needs to make sure you get back to activate it. Wei hesitated only briefly before nodding. She gathered the 2 remaining soldiers and headed for the rear exit, while Maya positioned herself at the main entrance to the chamber. As she fired methodically at the approaching converted humans, Maya opened a direct channel to General Okeke at the primary command center. General, Dr. Wei is en route back to the lab. The power connection is established. She paused, taking down another converted soldier. I'm staying behind to ensure she escapes. When she arrives, I'm volunteering to serve as the initiator for the resonance key. Okeke's voice came back, solemn. Understood, Captain. I'll ensure everything is prepared. Sir, Maya continued, her voice steady even as she was forced to fall back another step. If this works, if we survive this, remember what Lane inscribed on his memorial. Our salvation is in unity. We'll remember, Okeke promised. Good luck, Captain. Maya fought on, using every bit of cover, every tactic she knew to slow the enemy advance. When her ammunition ran out, she switched to a salvaged energy weapon. When that failed, she used improvised explosives fashioned from the facility's equipment. Finally, as the converted forces closed in from all sides, she received confirmation. Dr. Wei had reached the lab safely. The resonance key was powering up. All that remained was the final activation and the initiator. Maya found herself surrounded, the crystalline entities closing in but strangely hesitant, as if sensing something important was about to happen. You recognize it? Don't you? She said aloud. You can feel what we've built. The nearest converted human tilted its head, the voice that emerged a disturbing chorus of many. The Lane Protocol. Crude. Desperate. It will fail. Maybe, Maya acknowledged. But we'll find out together. A new voice came over her remaining communication device. Dr. Wei from the lab. Maya, we're ready. The key is powered. Are you certain about this? Maya looked at the crystalline beings surrounding her, beings that had once been human, now vessels for an invading consciousness. She thought of the 3 billion lost in the first invasion, of Marcus Lane's sacrifice, of a warning that had hung over humanity for 10 years. "I'm certain," she replied. "Activate the key. I'm ready to initiate." In the lab, Dr. Wei made the final connections, then stepped back as the resonance key began to pulse with increasing intensity. A technician handed her a neural interface crown. "This will establish the quantum link with Captain Rodriguez," the technician explained. "Once connected, she'll be able to guide the resonance field, target it specifically at the alien quantum signature." Wei took a deep breath and opened the channel. "Maya, I'm sending the neural link now. You'll feel something." Lane's notes weren't specific. At the power facility, surrounded by the enemy, Maya felt a strange sensation spread through her mind, as if her consciousness was suddenly expanding beyond the confines of her body. She could sense the resonance key, feel its energy building. "Connection established," she reported, her voice calm despite the crystalline entities now less than a meter away. "I can feel it, Dr. Wei. It's incredible." "Guide it, Maya," Wei instructed. "Focus it on their quantum signature." Maya closed her eyes, letting her consciousness expand further into the resonance field. She could feel the alien presence now, not just the converted humans around her, but the entire network spanning the globe. And deeper still, she sensed something else, a central node, a guiding intelligence hidden in the shadows of the collective. "I've found it," she whispered. "Their center, their command." With all her will, Maya directed the building resonance energy toward that center, focusing it like a beam of light cutting through darkness. She felt resistance, the alien consciousness fighting back, trying to disperse, to hide itself again. "No," Maya said, both aloud and through the quantum link. "Attack again and face total annihilation. You were warned." The resonance reached critical amplitude. Maya felt her physical body begin to dissolve, her consciousness spreading throughout the quantum field, becoming one with the weapon she was guiding. Her last physical sensation was a blinding light erupting from her body, engulfing the converted humans around her. Across the globe, the same phenomenon occurred simultaneously. Wherever the converted beings had spread, a resonant energy field manifested, disrupting the quantum links that bound them to the collective consciousness. The crystalline structures destabilized, falling away from their human hosts, those that could still be saved. In some cases, the conversion had progressed too far, and both the alien presence and the human host dissolved together. In others, unconscious but still human forms remained, the alien presence expelled. At the research facility, Dr. Wei watched the monitors in awe as the resonance key pulsed with energy, the quantum field expanding globally along the network they had established. Then, abruptly, the key went silent, its crystalline components shattering into dust. Hours later, the reports confirmed what they had hoped. The alien presence was gone. The converted had either been restored to human form or had disintegrated entirely. The invasion had been repelled, but the cost had been enormous. Millions dead or still missing. Cities devastated. And Captain Maya Rodriguez, gone, her consciousness scattered across the quantum field she had created to save humanity. 1 week after what would come to be called the Second Invasion, General Okeke stood before the world's leaders in an emergency session of the United Nations. "We survived," he began solemnly, "but at a terrible price. And we must understand that this may not be the end. Twice now, we have faced an enemy determined to eradicate us. Twice, we have survived through sacrifice and unity." He gestured to Dr. Wei, who stepped forward with a data tablet. Dr. Wei has analyzed the resonance data collected during the final confrontation. Captain Rodriguez, in her final moments, discovered something crucial. Wei addressed the assembly. The entity we faced was not acting alone. The quantum signature Maya identified suggests a larger collective, a civilization perhaps, of which our invaders were merely scouts. A murmur of concern spread through the assembly. "Our warning to them stands," Okeke continued. "But we must prepare for the possibility that they will not heed it a second time. We must build on what we've learned, strengthen our defenses, and remain vigilant. Senator Clark, one of the few government officials to have witnessed the front lines of the battle, stood to address the assembly. 10 years ago, we grew complacent. We began to forget. We cannot make that mistake again. I propose that we establish a permanent global defense initiative built on the principles that saved us: Lane's technology, Way's innovations, and the sacrifice of those like Captain Rodriguez. The proposal received unanimous approval. Within months, the Global Vigilance Initiative was established, combining military defense, scientific research, and public awareness into a unified effort. At the Memorial Plaza in New Washington, now partially rebuilt, a new statue stood beside that of Marcus Lane, Captain Maya Rodriguez, her figure captured in the moment of transformation, becoming one with the light that had saved humanity. The inscription read simply, "Her consciousness guides us still." Dr. Way often visited the memorial during her rare breaks from the laboratory, where she now led the effort to understand and develop the resonance technology further. Sometimes, standing before Maya's statue, she could swear she felt a presence, a consciousness not entirely gone from this world. On one such visit, exactly 1 year after the second invasion, Way brought a small quantum resonator, a device of her own design. As she activated it near the statue, its readings spiked dramatically. "Maya," she whispered, "are you still here somehow?" The resonator pulsed in a pattern too specific to be random, a simple binary sequence that, when translated, formed 3 words: "I am watching." Way smiled, tears in her eyes. "Then watch with us," she said. "Help us prepare, because we don't know if they'll heed our warning this time either." As she walked away from the memorial, Way looked up at the sky, at the defense dome with its iridescent shimmer, at the patrol drones maintaining their vigilant patterns. Beyond them, in the vastness of space, humanity's warning echoed still: attack again and face total annihilation. But now, there was an unspoken addition, and this time we'll be ready. The stars twinkled silently, giving no hint of what might be watching from beyond, planning, perhaps, for a third attempt. But this time, humanity would not forget. This time, they would remain united, vigilant, and prepared for whatever might come from the depths of space. And somewhere, dispersed through the quantum fields that now span the globe, Maya Rodriguez watched as well, her consciousness transformed, but her purpose unchanged: to protect, to warn, and, if necessary, to fight once more for the future of humanity.